Ba-da-bow, ba-da-bow. We're making up a live virtual courtside theme song. What's up? Welcome to Virtual Courtside. It's Dirk and Harris. Big day. I am coming to you live from not Delray Beach, Florida. I'm coming to you live from Portsmouth, Rhode Island. I have moved. I have unpacked. I have new internet. We got the fiber now installed in the old house. So feeling good in the neighborhood, Dirk. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm a little sunburnt, but
Yes, you
it's
are.
due to it's due to happen. It was very excruciating a couple days ago when it
Yeah.
happened, but now this is the good part. Like, as much as I got the British pale ass fucking skin, people have to remember, Harris, I'm still Spanish.
Yes, you are.
Somewhere deep down under this pale skin is a tan Spanish man that is ready to erupt. So that is the good part. I will have a nice tan. I might look more Hispanic than I ever have in my life
I see.
after I get a little lineup whenever we go in person.
Well, between your Spanish skin and my Eastern Mediterranean skin, I think you and I would be just fine. I'm quite olive when I tan. I don't really get brown. I get olive. Get like this funky brownish green. Anyway, welcome back. We took some time off, took off the bye week. I had to move. Dirk had to play more soccer. But we are rested, we are recharged, and we are ready to go. We're back on the pod schedule. We'll be having some guests on throughout the next couple of weeks, and we get some coaches on, get some players based off of like how performances go. We'll do more live episodes when we're in DC. We'll be in DC a lot more, considering that all five tournaments will close out in person, which will be super duper fun. But Dirk, before we get into the new game mode, let us talk of the game mode of old. We have not spoken since the 3v3 finals. We did night podcasts for every single day. Those did quite well. Thank you to everybody who listened. Some of our did some pretty good numbers on those. What do you make of the 3v3 finals now that we're about a week and a half removed? What is your lasting taste in the mouth?
I think that with how everything kind of was like short and condensed this season definitely showed, and I think
Yes.
it showed because the best teams at the beginning were the best teams at the end,
Yes.
which is rarely the case from what we've seen historically with the league. I liked how the 3 season went this year. I think that there were some people that were watching some of the games and typing in the chat like, "Oh, fuck this mode. This mode's so boring." And there were some instances where I saw people who hated threes be like, "Oh, fuck, maybe it's not so bad."
Mm-hmm.
Even then, I was like, "You're saying that because guys can't hit an open jump shot for the final 5 minutes of a 2020 game." So it's like, is that really what made you like threes? Because that's not what you should be liking about it.
Sure.
But I mean, I thought it went I thought it went good. I don't think underwhelming is the right word to use for it. It's hard to give a true opinion like how I feel. I thought it was fun, but I didn't think it was anything too fucking crazy. But I think last year set the bar so high with one. I thought it was fucking best of 7.
Yeah.
Apparently
That
we
was on
don't read
us.
the little fucking pamphlet that's set up
That was
because we're
on us.
commentating
We
1,000
gotta hold the
fucking
L.
games.
We gotta hold the L,
Like,
buddy. That's on us.
but like, I even went to the coaches and they didn't know it was a best of 7. So it's like
That's
it's
on
not
them.
just us. Like it's everybody, players,
Yeah.
fucking GMs, coaches. No one knew it was that, so we
Yeah.
thought it was going to be best. I wish it was best of 7.
I
I don't
don't.
think it would have made
I
that much of
don't.
a difference, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think that it still would have been the Lakers doing their thing. But yeah, it was. I think if I'm ranking this 3 seasons, or what, that was our third 3 season. I'm putting that one in last place. I'm giving last year.
Oh damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going last year first place, Indianapolis second place, and then this one third.
Wow. I
Yep.
would put it above the Indy just because that whole season featured some of the worst basketball that has ever been played in the history of the NBA 2K League. Like it was pretty gruesome out there for a lot of teams.
I think, but that's what I kind of liked about it. It was the year of the fresh mode, and there was multiple different play styles
That's
to
true.
the
That's
very
true.
end. For this, it was kind of same metas found. Boom, everybody runs with it. So yeah, that's why I'll do it. And plus, I mean, everything was fucking remote. I don't
Yeah,
think
too
I
much
don't think
remote.
I don't think I can rank you in the top 2 when every aspect of it was that remote play. So.
That's fair. I'll give you that. I think the word you're looking for is anticlimactic. Like I feel like
Yeah,
we
I
have been
guess.
setting up all season like, oh wow, it's gonna be Magic versus Lakers in the duel of the fates, and it was It was just a
The,
sweep.
the one part that was the weirdest thing for me about threes concluding was how different Magic Gaming played once they got bumped down to the lower bracket. I've never seen anything like it
They
with
lost
a
all
team
their
that is like
confidence.
it was so strange. Like they went from playing like this like smooth flowing offense to getting bopped down there, and then all of a sudden I was looking at them and I'm like, bro, this is fucking ugly. This looks like Cavs Legion when they were playing threes. Like it is atrocious. There was no confidence in shooting the ball. The Loki Godlick was not getting involved in plays like he was. It was one of the strangest declines, I think, like in terms of how rapid that it happened. I
Yeah.
thought that sometimes when teams get bumped down to the lower bracket, they just cruise through, which again, like they were still doing enough to win, but it wasn't the exhilarating Magic Gaming wins that we are used to from
Yeah.
them.
I honestly, I think what kind of happened is that they started to believe their own hype in a way where they were like, okay, we are definitely the best team here. Like, we're just going to run over these guys. And I think it's just the way that they lost to Gen G. Like, they got smacked, dude. Like, Gallo punched them in the face and they could not get up. Like, it was just a beatdown. And I think you saw that in the last day. They just ran out of gas. I said it in my finals review on the website that they got punched. They couldn't recover. They were staggering for the rest of the day. You mentioned that they won a couple of lower bracket matchups, but they were stumbling all over. Their defense was all over the place. They couldn't hit open shots. They got through really on talent alone, and then they just went up against a Lakers team that, I mean, come on. Like they barely broke a sweat that entire week. I mean, they got pushed once by the T-Wolves, and then all of a sudden Kai was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do this myself. Puts on the Thanos glove and it's like, get away from me. Like, this is over. It was really a cakewalk of a week, I think, for Lakers gaming. And, you know, we were pretty adamant all year long that Lakers gaming, while they did get beat by Magic Gaming, we were pretty adamant that Lakers gaming, well, I was at least, that they were the best team in the league. You and JT started to go on the Magic Gaming side of things, but I think, man, that Lakers gaming team, I think, is the best threes team ever. And I think that's the one thing from this season that I will take away is that Kai has now won a championship. He's going to win the MVP, and he was the best player on the best threes team ever. That, to me, is about as big of a legacy boost as you can ask for. Similar to how Mama, you know, arguably the best player on the best fives team ever. That's a huge legacy moment for him, too. I think that was Kai's moment, and I think this whole three season really just ended up being about him, and we were just kind of looking for reasons to not make it about him. It was all about him. It was all about him moving on from the T-Wolves. It was all about him, you know, having his moment in the spotlight. Can he lead a team by himself? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And he just wiped the table. I thought he was the best player all year. MVP, Finals MVP. I think well deserved.
Yep. I think it was good. Nothing to take away from and saying it's climactic, but you know, in competition, there's sometimes where as commentators and I think as neutrals that you're like, damn, I hope somebody can dethrone them.
That's what it was all year. We were just waiting. You know what? We kept kind of tossing, like it's like somebody playing t-ball. Like we kept tossing the ball at people. Like, hey, Gen G, you want to beat the Lakers? And they're like, no, we're okay. We're not going to try that. Hey, T-Wolves, you want to beat the Lakers? Hey, we beat them once, but we can't. And we don't really feel like doing it a second time. And then we toss it up to the Magic. The first time they hit a home run. They hit that bitch out of the park. Second time,
Not so much.
Not so much. I think the series that I will remember the most though is the Gen G Magic series. I think that was the most memorable series that we ended up having all year. Just on stage, Gallo coming out party, the insane performance he had. So shout out to Gen G, best season that they've ever had. That's the best season in franchise history, and I think that is a big deal for that organization. Anything else you want to talk about in 3v3, or should we switch gears? See what I did there? Switch gears, because we have a tournament called the Switch. We're gonna switch gears. It's a 5v5.
I guess let me ask you. Asked me a lot of questions. So let me ask you a question.
Ooh.
What's something that you would change about threes going to next year, or do you think that it's such a basic mode that we're kind of like at that point where it's like, what more could we really do to make this mode like pop more? I guess.
I wouldn't have every single team play in person. Again, I would have even less teams play in person. I would have every single series be on the main stage and have less teams in person. I think having all of these like crazy mid teams constantly get these high profile matchups on the big stage is crazy to me. Like, I think we needed less teams on stage during the playoffs. Or sorry, I should say, let me preface this again. I need to go back and start this over. First of all, we need to go back to having every single tournament in person. And then on top of that, we need to have less teams on stage. Like, what we had during the playoffs was fine. I would even have less teams on stage than that. I don't think we should have a B stage in threes. I think we should just have less series and more high profile stakes. I felt that there were so many series during the playoffs that were just completely meaningless, and we just like, oh, the team's playing on the B stage, and we're not going to see either of those teams play on the main stage. Like, I found that there were still too many series this year that didn't mean anything. We need to create higher stakes for this mode, because outside of like the championship Saturdays and playoffs week, I felt that a lot of these series were just completely meaningless. And you look at the games played again, we had 4 teams play over 100 threes games this year. We had 3 more play over 90. We had another 6 after that play 80 plus. Like, it's a lot of threes games. So I would try to find a way to make things matter a little bit more again. Like, the point structure is good. We need to I don't know. There needs to be a shakeup in how we value series, because they end up being totally meaningless, I think, at the end of the season.
Yeah. I feel like, again, it is threes. There's not much you can really add to this mode. My one thing from the start was like, give everybody 99 builds, because to give it the arcade feel, they did that.
They did that.
I think honestly, it's still, I don't think the game speed is where it should be. Personally, I think it should be a lot more faster in terms of just like an overall perspective. Like, I feel like it's as new 2Ks have dropped since next gen, the game's gotten a lot slower. So I would like to see maybe that like amped up a little bit more.
Yes.
But other than that, I don't know what else.
Actually, I completely take back my original point, and I'm going to add a better point that would make all the threes more entertaining. We need to make the guard builds better.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. One of them needs to be cracked out. It is a snooze fest watching these guys like dunk and pray for threes. I know they're playing on a shooting difficulty that is like higher than Hall of Fame. I totally understand that, but it is so clear that like a lot of these builds just do not have the shooting quality that a lot of the threes builds of olds did. They also can't move. They can't dribble. I don't know if that's just a factor of 2K. I need the builds to be a little bit better.
My thing, to your point with the guard builds, just make the guards be able to do everything.
Please.
Honestly, make every build be able to do everything.
I don't care.
Make the fucking power forwards. I'm not saying power forwards cracked out like Steph Curry dribbles, but make it so they can have some speed when putting the ball down on the floor. Make it to where the guards can actually have some defense. So when they're fighting for these, I think if you had the guards play defense, I think it would eliminate the stupid bullshit of a lockdown sitting screens.
That's the thing. There is no, how do I put this? Guards don't play defense. Guards just pray. That's a big problem. They can't play defense. They just pray that maybe they'll get a lucky animation. And I also think locks on the offensive side of the ball, they were fine. Some of them could put the ball on the floor. Some of them could dribble. It depended on the build. For me, it all comes back to the guards. I thought that the guards this year, were pretty disappointing overall as a unit.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of it had to do with the fact that the builds are they're not good for threes. Here's the way I'll put it. The builds this year were as close to 5s builds as we've ever had in 3s. These weren't 3v3 builds. These were 5s builds that felt like they were custom made a little bit for 3s, but it was mostly a 5v5 build on 3s. And I didn't love it. I want more out of the guards. I want crack stuff. I want insane fades. I want disgusting shots. I want insane dribbles, breakdowns, ankle breakers. I want all that stuff. We need to make it more park. We need to make it more NBA street, because the way we have it now is very YMCA 3v3. It's very fundamental based. It's setting picks. It's kind of boring.
You know what game would have been amazing for 3v3?
What?
Season 3 league build.
Yes, exactly. It's just too. I agree with you. It's not that it's too slow. It's that point guards are forced to play at a slower tempo because their builds don't support them playing faster. The only guys go for it.
It's been something with next gen ever since, was it 2K21 was when next gen was introduced, that the game just the game speed naturally got slower. Like having the game speed set to 50, I think is what it is at default. is not the same 50 that it was back in the day.
No.
Like it was a lot just quicker, but I think it's with the new mocap systems and the way like the dribbles are, it's starting to become like so hyper realistic
Yeah.
that it's emulating that, which I think is kind of a negative in that point. I don't think it should be like that. I think that when these guards have a fucking Kyrie Irving dribble rating that high, that they should be fucking
They should be
moving
moving.
and zooming. It should honestly be like,
They should be
I
grooving.
hate the fucking dribbling mechanics in this game in terms of speed, like 2K16, 2K17 dribbling, and it would be fucking phenomenal. But I think that's to, even though if we were looking to up threes and, you know, change some things up, I think that's the key components.
Yeah, we got to up the base a little bit here. It's fun. It's good. Like I don't mind 3v3. I really don't. I actually think it's pretty fun to watch, but it's difficult to stick with it when the tempo is so slow, and you know, guards will get steals and it's like dribble, 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 holds up ball, starts play at 14 seconds, lock screen, dribble up. I got around a guy to a left, layup.
But I think that's the thing too. Like that's just threes, man. Like that's why.
But it's not. It's not, because we last year's league threes build was way better from like a speed perspective and like what the guards could do perspective. Dude, Killy was doing stuff flash. He was hitting like fade threes from 30 feet. Well, like it was crazy the stuff that some of those guys were doing last year.
Well, yeah, that's just because
look at
this
the
year,
scoring.
like,
so here, actually, do you know what? This is a great way to compare this. Here, I'll
well, that's just because last year's game, you could score fades more than you can this year. This year's league build, because when the game first dropped, you couldn't hit fades for shit. And so that's why, like in the league build, no one could shoot fades anymore. Like last year's prolific. You could have fucking power forwards, locks, guards constantly fading away with normal one and being able to make something work. But this year it was like, that's the one thing. I think that's why the games were so funky, is that you could only shoot quick stops. You could only shoot catch and shoot shots. There were some guards that were able to finally establish a rhythm. But guess what? By the time you establish a rhythm shooting some fades, it was 1 month before fucking threes was done.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is tough. I'm excited to see what this league build looks like on fives, because I think this league build is made for fives. Like, you want to talk about speed, the quality, it just feels very 5v5 based. But hey, I had fun this 3 season. I think I don't want to make this all about us, but we crushed it that week, man. I thought the broadcast was great when we were in person. We put another little check mark next to us. What?
Ugh.
What?
I just saw Manchester City's away kit for 2024-2025 just got leaked.
Oh, you mean the T100 Terminator that just like morphs itself into whatever it sees around it because it has no personality or function outside of destroying?
It's the navy blue with giant green rectangle stripes.
They took our green, dude. That's the same green that Arsenal has on their kit this year. They're taking our stuff.
And they're taking our PL trophy this year.
Yeah, sucks.
Oh,
stupid.
Sorry. I just saw it pop up on my tweet deck and I wanted to puke.
All right, well that's 20 minutes on 3v3 recap. I'm gonna call it there. I want to talk about fives. So long 3v3 season. Thank you for some wonderful entertainment. You're a great preseason game mode. We love you. We care about you. But now it is time to move on to the big dog. Woof 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 woof. It's been barking in the backyard for a couple of weeks now, Dirk. It's been chained up. It's angry. It's hungry. It's ready to go. It's 5v5. Everybody off the bench and into the game. I'm very excited to see a lot of these teams. I just finished up my 5v5 preview this morning. That'll be on the website probably at some point tonight on Tuesday or tomorrow morning on Wednesday. I hope that everybody gets a chance to listen to this pod as well. Games start tomorrow. It is obviously the tip-off, powered by AT&T. And the groups will be released on broadcast, so or on social media. So we won't spoil the groups for now. So in order to do our 5v5 preview, we're going to keep the same structure that we did for our 3v3 preview. And we are going to give you another wonderful version of Contenders, Pretenders, and On the Bubble. And last but certainly not least, what is our 5v5 going to be for bad? We had Yikes for threes. What do you want it to be for fives?
Maybe we should tone it down and just put like not gonna be good,
because that's so fun.
I know I noticed because like we have Pretenders, but again, like Pretenders means that we thought you were gonna be good. We don't have a category for a team that's just gonna be bad, like that we think it's just gonna stink.
We'll give them a meh, MEW, meh. Meh.
M-E-W or M-E-H.
M-E-H, sorry,
M-E-H. Meh.
M-E-H.
Yeah.
It's
I was
Mew.
like,
Meh.
Mew?
Yeah.
Mew Harris.
Mew.
I'm mewing.
Oh, yeah. the puffed out cheeks. Okay. Meh, pretenders, on the bubble, contenders. We're going to go
Boom.
by conference since 5v5 is by conference. And then we will do our tip-off, turn, and ticket winners. And then we will give you our champion. And then we'll do some award picks at the end. All right, sir. We're going to start with the Eastern Conference because the East is better. The East Coast is the best coast. So we're going to start at the top. The tip-off kings themselves. 76ers GC predicted lineup. Dre, Jaden, Gradient, DT, and DJ. The mighty 76ers GC back with a vengeance. No 630 this year, Dirk. They have moved on from the 630 era. It is now the Jaden and Gradient era. However, the delicious combo of Dre, DT, and DJ continues on for another year. What do you make of our cohorts in the city of brotherly love?
I think it'll be interesting because I feel like Gradient's play has been one that I've just been trying to monitor over the years, and I don't think it has that same flair or same intensity that it once used to when he was playing with the Warriors. I think since he's been bouncing around, just hasn't been able to find an established rhythm. But when you go to a winning organization, that's when everything kind of flips, right? I mean, you're playing for the Hawks.
Yeah.
You think you're going to be motivated? Now you go over to this team. Of course, we haven't seen anything from Jaden, but we saw what he was able to do with NBL Lost Gaming last year. Same story as always. Dre does this thing where he has these slow starts, will pop up out of nowhere and start going crazy.
Yep.
The one thing that we have learned about 76ers GC every single year since we started remote play, they will look really bad in remote, but if they can get themselves on stage, they will always have a fighting chance to make a run and potentially win. So for 76ers GC, I will be giving them a contenders tag.
Nice contenders tag. I will be joining you on the contenders train, sir. My biggest worry is the same worry that you have when it comes to Gradient, and it's not that Gradient's a bad player. It's just the game. Excuse me. The style that you need at lockdown, I believe, has moved away from him. His calling card is that he's a great funnel lock, okay? He loves funneling guys down to the power forward and center and then bracketing them, moving off ball, defending well. He's a good one-on-one defender. His problem, Dirk, is that he doesn't force turnovers. He's not a steals guy. He doesn't really rip people. He doesn't play lanes. He plays his guy, and his job is to funnel his player down low. The problem is that the last 2 years, the teams that he was on did not have great rim defense, including last year with the Hawks, who never have good rim defense. And then his last year on the Warriors where, VC had a really good season, but their rim defense left a little bit to be desired. Now he's going to be on a team with DT and DJ, two very good rim protectors. I really like this team. I think Gradient's going to fit far better on this team stylistically. However, I think Jaden is going to lead this team in usage rate. And I think Dre is going to play a lot of off ball. He's going to do a lot of catch and shoot. And also watch out for the DJ playmaking at the high elbow. He loves to pass. Super fun player out of the pick and roll. I think this team, top 3 East team for me. I think if I'm going to put a prediction out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Will they win the tip-off?
Fuck. Well, would the tip-off, when the teams get to in person, will it be reshuffled, or is it going to be East and West? And then
West.
East and West.
East-West all the way in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wasn't it last year? Didn't they flip
They mixed the conferences last year, not doing that.
But this year is going to be straight. East is
West,
one side, West is the other side.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I like that. But yeah, I think they're always fucking solid, especially to start.
Yeah. Okay. Cavs Legion GC. They're in the East, right? I think so. Yes, they are in the East. A lot of changes to their lineup. Antoine, Killy, TB Shift A, DJ Too Cold, and Slaughter. They got the T-Wolves boys combined with Killy and Antoine. I struggle with this team, Dirk. And because I struggle with this team, I'm going to put them on the bubble. I think that it is likely that they end up being in that kind of 4 to 7 range in the Eastern Conference. But a lot of this team, and by a lot of this team, I mean almost this entire team, just like last year, will be heavily predicated on, can Killy be the number 1 scoring player on a team that is going for the playoffs? And I think we've seen him a couple different times be given this responsibility, and it hasn't really gone well. Last year, Duke's, they didn't have as good of a defense as his Cavs team will be, but I think Killy struggled as a primary offensive player. He was good enough to kind of make them competitive throughout the ticket. But that's, as far as they ended up going. I'm putting them on the bubble because I can't really give them a contender tag. They'll be good, just not great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go pretenders for them.
Ooh, okay.
I think after what I saw in threes from just TB and DJ, I don't know if there's going to be a newfound confidence coming into 5 versus 5, but this is not the same DJ and TB that we've gotten over the past years in 3v3
True.
Or 5v5. We've seen TB, DJ, and Slaughter already play together in this league. And while the T-Wolves did have success, I think they won the tip-off that year, right? Or
Yeah.
is that in Indy? But like I've seen what I've needed to see from this, and I worry more about the offensive side than anything with these guys.
Yeah.
Antoine, who historically has been a putrid shooter, it just can never find himself a rhythm, can get himself open, but once he goes to hit that shot, cannot get it to go. After what we saw from TB and DJ, holy fuck, they can't shoot the ball. Maybe it's going to be different in fives. That's what we've been hearing from people, that it is a little bit different. I feel like that if there's going to be a way for this team's path to victory, it's going to be like they're going to have that crazy fucking stat line where they're like a top 5 defensive team in their fucking conference, and they're going to be like last in the offensive side. So I really wonder about that. I do also wonder, will they be a team that comes out with a pop? I know that Slaughter's always like, yeah, I've ran some pops sometimes here and there, but I just want to be on the inside. I think the inside would definitely suit them a lot better personally, especially, going with a center preference like that. But I don't see a team like this being able to push maybe closer to, like, I was right in between on the bubble and pretenders.
Okay.
But I just think that this is going to be, underwhelming like their 3 season was, to be brutally honest with you.
I think Grizz said on Twitter that he thinks that the Cavs were the most underwhelming team in 3v3, and I definitely agree with that. I'm just going to put them on the bubble because we have seen teams have weird shooting seasons in threes and then come out in fives and look absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put them on the bubble just because, like, I think with this team's defense, Dirk, I think it's impossible for them to be bad. Like, I think they're going to be really competitive. As long, they're going to get big time stops. They're going to win games just because of their defense. And eventually Antoine and Kelly will hit shots, right? Eventually, who knows?
Antoine's been in the league for how long now, and still has never been the case. But I remain optimistic.
Yes, me too. All right, Celtics crossover gaming. The best roster on paper that Boston has ever had. Leche, 630, Tazo, Crizzy, and Colt. A monster lineup. A fun team. And you know what, Dirk? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to dig my heels in. I'm putting them down as contenders. I think this is the year that Boston is good. I think 630 is the perfect player for them. They needed a guy offensively who can take them over the top. And if Leche is the guy that we saw in threes and 630 is the guy that we know, this team is going to be a brutal combination of shooting, defense, and playmaking. My one worry with them is that Tazo and Crizzy are bad corner shooters. Bad. And there are just some times where you need your corners to go like 6 or 7 from 3 in a game to get you over the top. And I worry if they're going to be able to do that in the biggest spots. But outside of that, I don't really have a lot of concerns for this team. I think defensively, they're going to kick ass. I think offensively, Leche and 630 might average the most points of any backcourt in the league this year. And then you just got the big man Colt, who we know is going to bring that Abu Dhabi energy. I got contenders to the Celtics. I'm all in. I'm all in on Boston.
I'll go contenders as well.
Yeah.
I think that we are going to see an amazing season from Leche.
Yeah.
I think that he might have one of the best like point guard seasons that we've had like this year. I think he'll be like within that like top 3 conversation.
Oh, damn. Okay.
I liked what I saw from him in pre-draft. I really like what I saw from him in threes, the way that he's able to mix up his game. He just showed us that he was one of the best shooters. I'm hoping, again, to our point of just sometimes you can be really bad at shooting in threes and get better in fives. I hope to God we don't see a guy who was just lights out in threes all of a sudden jump into fives and then not be able to shoot the ball.
That'd be super disappointing.
I think their offense of Leche and 630 is going to be great. I think to your point where you said that they're probably going to be the highest scoring backcourt duo that we have.
Yep.
I do agree with that. I think their defense is going to be solid. But yeah, I mean, it's always the question for concern with the corner shooting, especially again what Tazo and Krizzy kind of shows. Kind of piggybacking off of what we saw from the Cavs Legion side of things. That's why they're very similar to me. But I think that Lecce 630 versus Antoine Love and Killy is like what's JT doing? They're up here, they're down here. So I think that's what will put me in the contenders conversation. I think that they have that capability to where they can just both explode, and they're going to be one of the scariest teams that we have in the East.
If Tazo and Krizzy can have an above average season shooting from three, I think this team will be a top 3 seed in the East. I believe that strongly. If they struggle shooting the ball, they're gonna be fighting for that 5 seed, and we're gonna be sad that the Celtics aren't as good as we thought they were gonna be. All right, on to Gen G. I am gonna put them on the bubble, Mr. Dirk, because I like this roster. It is Gallo, Reese the God, Lawrence, Jolo, and Boot. Here's my problem with it. The East is a gauntlet.
Mhm.
Like, the East goes 8 or 9 deep, as you guys will hear as we continue to go down through this group. I am worried about them with a rookie front court. Jolo and Boot going up against some of these front courts in the East. Feast and Sick, Jay Bullen and Loki Godlike. You got Steez and Walnut, Nudini and Type, DJ and Dichi, DJ Too Cold and Slaughter, Chrissy Colt. Like, there are some big time front courts that they're going to have to go up against. And I just think that sometimes they're going to get squeaked out. I think the saving grace for this team will end up being if Reese the God is more like season 2, season 3 Reese the God than he is season 6 Reese the God, which is like, hey, is this guy over the hill? Like, is he still the guy that he was? But if he can kind of find some of that form and get this team over the top offensively, I think it'll cover up a lot of their issues. But I got to see it first. So season preview wise, I'm gonna go on the bubble.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of you. Go on the bubble. I think obviously if Gallo can continue his play, they're going to be in for a phenomenal season just off their offensive alone. I think it's interesting because we already saw from Lawrich and how he could adapt with NBL Law's game and how good defensively. But then you have to look at the back end of things, right? You had DJ Too Cold and you had Sick, who's one of the all-time best defensive centers that we've had in the NBA 2K League. And that is a massive difference when you have two guys who are vets now on those teams on your back end. You bring in Jolo, who hasn't played fives at a league level yet. Then you also bring in Boot, who also hasn't played fives at a league level
Who
yet.
doesn't play
I think
Popper,
that
which might be a big thing this year if there's no Popper.
And the thing is, with this lineup specifically, I think that they are going to be a team at the very beginning. They are going to struggle defensively. I doubt that this is a team that comes out right off firing in the tip off is like one of the best defensive teams that we have. I think that this is for them. It's going to kind of be if Reese the Gods and Gallo get it going. I think it's going to almost be like a T-Wolves old style of playing where we are just going to outscore you. Our defense is going to be nothing spectacular, but our points per game is going to be so fucking high up there. That's what's going to lead us to victory. So I think that's to try to draw a comparison. That's where I think that they will be at. I'm hoping as it goes on, but again, kind of the same thing as the 3 season. You don't have a lot of time to figure your stuff remote. And of course, if you get to go one person, you get to go in person. A rookie center, especially too, right? Because Boot himself, I know that for me at least, when I saw Boot play pre-draft, I was more focused on his offensive game because he was like the stick dunk guy. He was the one that was using it more than any other center. So that's what I truly locked in on. But now you got to factor in the defensive end of things. I know I liked what I saw from the combine, UPA and everything too. So I think I'll put them on the bubble. But if we do a podcast going into the turn, do not be surprised if I'm like Gen G contenders. But yeah.
By the way, we were having some internet lag spikes, so we kind of heard some of that. We heard most of it, but some of it was a little bit choppy. But I agree with everything that you said about Boot. I think that he's the X factor for this team. If he can really take over the conference and to being one of the best centers in the East, this team will be really good. But if he's anywhere off that level, I think this team is going to struggle to get over the top.
I feel like too, when you look at it, a lot of rookie centers that come in that are really hyped up aren't really the best. They struggle adapting to the league center position more than anything. So again, you're gonna get your stats at center. That's the hardest part. Like, oh, he's playing great, but like I could fucking go average 10 and 10 with this naturally as the game is flowing. So Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, let's get into Hawks Talon GC. Duck, MDS, underrated GOAT, best bait, and glow. This is an okay team. I think they're fine. I don't think I consider them a playoff contender, but I have seen far worse Hawks Talon rosters in my lifetime. I just don't. Here's my thing, buddy. Duck is a great guy. We love Duck. Okay? Can a Duck-led team get you to the playoffs anymore? I just don't know.
Well, back when he played with Glow last
That was
time
a
when they were
long
on the
time
Knicks,
ago.
but that's it's
That
a
was
while
a long
back.
time ago.
And we didn't get to see Duck play fives last year, so we literally we're going on 2 years without seeing Duck play a league level competition in fives.
This team reminds me a lot of like the OG Knicks gaming with Duck. You got the superstar shooting guard. You got the loud lockdown. You got the young up and coming power forward, and you got Glow. I think this team would have been really good like 2-3 years ago. I think on the 2024 2K, they're going to need underrated GOAT to have another like insane outlier season from 3. I think for this team offensively to keep up, because Duck just isn't like an elite scorer. Great playmaker, but and then there's still a lot of questions with MDS. Is he a volume guy? Can he find efficiency good enough to actually play at the highest level? I'm not sure. What is best bait going to be like? A lot of people were way higher on him than I was during the draft process. I thought him going 12 was kind of nuts. He never made tier 1 for me. I always had him as a tier B guy or tier 2 guy. And then Glow's fine, but we've seen his offensive limitations in the past. I think this team will be fine, Derek. I'm going to go. Can I give him a meh?
I mean, damn, if you're going meh, that's like that you don't think they're gonna be good at all, so they can't put them in a pretenders thing.
I'm trying to see which team in the conference I think they're gonna be better than. That's my problem. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm looking down this list. Not better than the Sixers, not the Cavs, not the Celtics, not Gen G, not the Heat, maybe the Hornets, not the Knicks, not the Magic, maybe NBL, not the Nets, not the Raptors, not the Wiz. So that's 2 teams that I think they're going to be better than in their own conference.
I mean, it's your list. I'm putting them pretenders.
All right,
I feel like there's some people
I'll
that
put them there with you.
I think there's some people that maybe look at that roster and like, oh shit, like they might be able to do something, right? A more slept on low key side, but I just don't think it's gonna pan out that way.
Okay.
Again, I think it's gonna be some growing pains with Duck getting back into the 5v5 rhythm as well. Still a lot of questions with MDS because last year the only success we saw him actually have scoring the ball was when they ran that weird 5 out. Which still they couldn't play defense, but he was putting the ball in the hoop.
Yeah.
So I'll have to see how that goes. Again, I think it might be safe to say I feel like underrated GOAT's the best player on this team. I saw what I need to see like in threes, and he has so much consistency year after year, offensively, defensively. I think it starts time to start giving him a lot more credit compared to years prior.
And you know what I say, Dirk? There's no worse spot to be than when your lock is your best player. It's the worst place to be. It's a tough spot. All right, on to Heat Check Gaming. The prodigal son has achieved his destiny, Dirk. Kai is moving to shooting guard. Got Tay at the 1, Kai at the 2, Maddie at the 3, Dietrich at the 4, Saucy at the 5. This is... God, I want to be really high on this team. And in my preview, I was really high on them, and I remain pretty high on them. But when I read out this roster, like I just read it out to myself, I again have the same issue where it's like, which teams are they better than in the East? And it's a tough list. It's a tough list to come across. They are going to need a supernova, Super Saiyan freaking 7 season from Kai. Like, they're going to need that man to be growing golden hair that it reaches all the way down to the ground and also a couple feet onto the floor. Like, it's going to need a super season from him to get this done. I like the Tay pick. I actually think I'd be higher on this team if Dietrich was playing center, which is a pretty bad take. But Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm gonna put them on the bubble. Just because I like Kai at shooting guard so much.
Yeah, I feel like for me, this could be
You got the
a team
Pretenders
like.
face on. I'm just gonna say.
Oh yeah, I have them like copied and pasted into Pretenders already, but I'm just waiting to see if I can like
Okay.
talk myself out of it. Because like when you look at Maddie, Dietrich, and Saucy on paper, like that should be a pretty good defensive team. I didn't like really what I saw from Maddie this year defensively in threes, and I know it's not a lot to really take out of it, but Maddie from when I started to really like him at lockdown, he was making a lot of game changing plays and forcing a lot of turnovers. I don't think we're getting that as much from him.
Mm.
It was more just trying to go with the one on one, kind of similar to how when you were referencing Gradient in the way that he's playing defense. Saucy, I have no clue. He's kind of like the wild card for me. He has been ever since he had that breakout season with Gen G as well. I just don't know like what we're gonna get from him defensively. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of pressure on the defensive end for Dietrich to kind of just like carry that load.
Yep.
I will probably put them on Pretenders. For
Okay.
Tay too, I don't really know what to expect from Tay when it comes down to like the league level setting and the way that he's going to play guard. How much is he actually going to have the ball in his hands compared to getting over towards Kai? Because Kai's not going to be a catch and shoot shooting guard. He's going to want that ball in his hands. And he's going to want to dribble his way to baskets. So I will put them in Pretenders. Yeah, another team that's just very hard to get a true feel for them.
All right. I like your I think I will have a different opinion on them once I see them play. Like I got to see what the take.
Oh man, all these teams, I feel like once we see them play, I could be like at the end of day one, be like, fuck, I could shift some of these things.
Well, we'll do that at the end of week one. We'll come back together when I get because I'm going to be in DC on Saturday. So on Sunday when I get back, we can do we'll do Pretenders Contenders review.
What's Saturday?
We got an in-person. There's an in-person event. Cavs Wiz.
I forgot they don't fuck with me.
They do fuck with you.
They
I'm
don't.
just cheaper.
I'm fucking cheap too right now. Shit. I'll do it for $100.
That's crazy. Hornets Venom GT, Mooch, Trey Dollars, Fluke Lock, Big Saint, and Crown. Dirk, I was excited for this team at the draft. I thought that they nailed the draft. And then I watched them play threes. And it wasn't the Fluke Lock shooting under 40% from three thing that concerned me. It wasn't the Trey Dollars kind of looking like Trey Dollars usually does in the league. You know what really concerned me? The fact that they had Trey Dollars, Fluke Lock, and Big Saint out there, and they couldn't play a lick of defense. That really concerned me because that's supposed to be this team's calling card, and that's what this whole team was predicated on, was defense. If they can't play defense, this team is going to get slaughtered. Because as good as Mooch and Trey are, they are not offensive leading players. They don't lead from the front. Their defense leads from the front, and they hit big-time shots down the stretch to hold you off. That's the kind of players they are, and that's fine. We've seen teams win like that before in the league. It's worked before, it'll work again. But if the defense ain't there, you're in trouble. I worry for the defense of this team, and I worry that the spine of Trey Dollars, Fluke Lock, and Big Saint might not be as good as we had hoped. My biggest worry with this is going to be Trey and Saint. I think their chemistry in threes was way off, and I'm worried that in fives it might also be two. Saint did get a good extended run at 5v5 power forward last year. He looked pretty good. They won the turn. They didn't do so well in the playoffs, but I wonder what plan B is for this team if things aren't working out. What do they do? What's the first adjustment if this isn't working? And I don't really see it. That's the biggest concern. They don't have a plan B. I'm going to put them on the bubble for now. But when we come back to them on Sunday, I would not be surprised if I drop them a couple levels because I'm very concerned about this team. The thing that might save this team, Dirk, is Crown. Crown might act because he's still their best player. He's the best player on this team. So if Crown is having one of those seasons where he is simultaneously like one of the best defensive bigs in the league, but he's also second on the team in assists and they're playing off of him on the high elbow and he's pinging cutters and crossers and off-ball screens and all that jazz, cool, then I'm there for it. But if he's not putting on the cape and saving this team and their defense is gone, it might get ugly. It might get ugly quick. But we'll see. So on the bubble for now for me.
I'm leaning between pretenders and meh.
Ooh, okay. You're going a little deeper than I am.
I don't think the chemistry with them switching things out in threes is an ideal situation to set things up for success in fives, not having at least one of your two guards out there the entirety of the time. On top of that, let's be fucking real. They don't have Antoine Love last year. They don't have any fucking success.
No, they
They
have
don't
none.
have an Antoine Love scoring caliber guard
Well,
on this team.
they don't have Antoine
While,
Love and Fluke Lock because Fluke Lock came in last year in a
yeah,
very crazy situation.
Trey Dollars historically in fives never lived up to any hype that has been put to his name. I mean, we don't even talk about this ever. That man was picked up by Lakers gaming last year, and nothing happened with it after how good he looked in threes.
Yep.
Mooch for me has always been pretty consistent. Well, I should say this consistently inconsistent at times. There could be like a stretch where he'll go
Wise.
back to back games of like scoring a bunch, and then he'll also just go on this deep stretch of not being able to do a whole lot. And you see the shooting numbers kind of fall apart. That's why I'm putting them on the pretenders. I think a lot of people look at that Mooch Trey Dollars backcourt and like when it was formed, like, oh my God, two guys have a lot of chemistry playing with one another. But again, I go back to last year. I think that the swap out with like a Trey Dollars and Rigby, comparing it to last year. I think that Trey should be better than he was this year, but you can't ignore what the fuck Antoine Love was doing for this team in terms of scoring. They don't have that this year. They're not going to get that from either of those guards.
No.
That's where I think that the issue could come in. But again, another one of these fucking crazy organizations that once we get around to the turn, they always find a way to make some shit shake and work out some magic. So yeah, initial thoughts on the season. I'm starting to fill up my pretenders a little bit too much. I need to start
Yeah, you
putting
got
some
three
people on the
pretenders
bubble.
already in the East.
I got four.
Who's your
I
four?
got Cavs, Hawks, Heat, and Hornets.
Oh, right, I haven't put your Hornets one in. Yeah, you're right.
So I'll probably be done with the pretenders for now. I have to shift it, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be real. I don't see a world where that team is fighting for playoffs unless they win the turn.
Which, hey, it's Hornets and GT. You never quite know what the turn. Knicks Gaming. Radiant, Malik, Stick, Feast, Sick One. One of the best on paper rosters that we have in the league. I'm going to slap just a good old fashioned contenders tag on them right away. I think this team is going to be excellent. I think this might actually be the best defensive team that we have in the entire league this year. I think they are going to force just a disgusting amount of turnovers between Stick and his great plucking ability, Feast and his unbelievable rim defense, and of course Sick One with the defensive rebounds and the outlet passes. This team defensively should be a well-oiled machine very early on. Offensively, I can see them struggle a little bit. Feast moving back to the power forward spot. We already saw his shooting in threes. He hasn't shot the ball in a very, very long time. So it's going to take him a little bit of time to, I think, get up to speed. Stick has been great offensively. So is Malik. I think the real flip player on this team, Dirk, is going to be Radiant. If Radiant can if Radiant can give me 15 points per game, bro, they might win the title. But if Radiant is around that like 10, 11, 12 area again, we're going to have some issues. They need more scoring out of him. It can't just be Malik because teams are going to start to shade onto Malik, force the ball out of his hands, and somebody's going to have to make a move. The great news for Radiant is, he's had some centers over the years, man, that are fine. Bro, he's got Sick One coming in. One of the best inside bigs that we have in the entire league. At least they're going to have an outlet down there. I think this team is going to be one of the best of the best. I think they're going to be competing with the best of the best all year. I preliminarily have them as my best team out of the East, but again, need to see them play next week. I have them contenders.
Yeah, I think this is the easiest contender pick with this team. I'd be utterly shocked if they weren't competing right out the gate for a chance to win the tip off, and of course, like going down the stretch and competing for a championship as well. I think when you're talking about the experience, I just look at it defensively, right? Like in 5v5, throw threes out the window. Feast and Sick as a combination with what Stick, like that is fucking scary.
Yeah.
Because Feast has always been one of the most consistent power forward defenders that we've had. Maybe the offensive shooting a little bit, here and there. Sick is going to be a brute on the inside. He's always going to have the rotations on points. And so I genuinely feel like this team could run the conference. I'll even put that. I think that this should be one of those teams that when we look at the stats by the end of week one, we're like, holy shit, they are living up to the hype. And I think, honestly, it even tees them up that the fact that Radiant closed out playing threes for this team. He finally got some reps. He wasn't just put on the back end, not being able to work on his real-time dribbling and his real-time shooting in that 3v3 world. So I think that the Knicks is probably the easiest one to call for this category.
I agree. I think this is going to be one of the best teams in the league this year. I think if there's any team that can stand up to the Giants of the West, right now on paper, it's Knicks Gaming. Outside of that, it's going to have to be a team that's on fire. Magic Gaming. Unguardable. Return DJ, Snubby, Jay Bullen, and Low-Key Godlike. I'm going to put... I have a lot of on the bubble teams. So I'm going to put them in the pretenders conversation for now. My point is with this... I know, surprising. My problem with this team is that it is full of completely unproven players in this game mode. Unproven. And y'all can yell at me this all you want. I'm sorry, it's true. Unguardable to me, 2 years in a row is the best player on this Magic team. No playoffs, except through the ticket. Return to DJ past couple years with Gen G. Been a really solid player in remote. Been one of the worst players on stage that we've had the past 2 years. No questions asked. Snubby, out of the league. Was a coach last year. Now a player again playing a new position. He's never played in the league. Big question for me. Jay Bullen, literally a rookie. Haven't seen him that much in fives. And then also Low-Key Godlike, who, was he's one of the best 3v3 players ever. I didn't love him last year in fives. I thought he was fine with Gen G. I thought they were okay, but I don't think he was setting the world on fire in this game mode. I think on paper, this team looks really good. I think in reality, I'm a little bit less sold on them. And I said the same thing in my written preview, that I'm unsure if this team is truly going to be better than everybody else in this conference, with more experienced and proven fives players, with some really loaded teams, and also with point guards who have taken teams to the playoffs without the ticket. This is the biggest half a season in Unguardable's career. There's no excuses. If this Magic team doesn't make the playoffs, it's almost entirely on him. So I'm putting them in the pretenders category for now. I need to see it. I need to see this team play elite defense and win big time games against big time teams. So pretend.
Yeah, I have them in contenders.
Okay.
Because the reason being is I think that anytime you have unguardable point guard, I feel like that's going to be enough. I think Low-Key Godlike, with the work that he's put in the offseason, specifically in fives, I think it was when he was on Team Liquid.
Yep.
And I know he's have you heard about the 360 jab step move that people have been doing at center?
Yes, I have. I heard about it.
I know Low-Key Godlike is one of the guys who first started doing that and knows how to do it almost every single time. Because I was getting Snapchats from Colt when the league build first dropped, and do you know what this is? And I'm like, bro, I know it's a jab step. I know it's hold out two. I know it's something, and it completely glitches out. I don't know if guys will do that, or if it'll be fixed, or if it'll even be allowed. I mean, will we have a season one debacle of a stiff arm and all this other crazy stuff? But the same concerns that you have of Snubby and return of DJ, we do have to look at it from this perspective. I'm so heavily critical of return of DJ in person, and rightfully so, because he has been historically awful on stage games, but still so much remote play, right?
Yeah.
That's something that we do have to factor in, that you could do good enough in remote to where maybe if you can't get to person, maybe take a round, that could be enough to eventually get you back into that playoff race.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily worry about unguardable return of DJ, Jay Bullen, or Low-Key Godlike. I think Jay Bullen's going to do his thing. I mean, once you show me that you're playing at that level in threes, right off the bat at a position, I think Jay Bullen's career right now is kind of mirroring Jay Snags individually. Guys that play power forward, then they go to threes and play lock. And I think that he's going to go right back into 5v5, and I think he's going to pick up right where he left off. Snubby, I have no fucking idea. I genuinely do not know what to expect from Snubby at all.
Agreed.
Throw everything we've seen from Snubby. What, last time we saw him was when he's on the Hornets? I have no clue what, the Snubby pick on draft night, I was stunned by, because I know that he had been grinding the game. I know he'd been playing team tournaments. And the one thing is, I know about Snubby, he is a natural gamer. Snubby is a guy that will pick up any fucking game and be really good at. So that is the one thing I do factor in. I'm like, you know what? Maybe there is a future in this. I don't know though, man. That is going to be the one thing I will be scratching my head. And I would not be surprised, Harris, if for some reason, if Snubby is that bad at lock, that we see Jay Bullen switch and Snubby goes to the back end and they run a more of a heavy rotational defense. I hope, and I hope to God this doesn't happen. No offense, return of DJ was honestly not terrible at the lockdown when he was with Gen G, when he played in 3v3. I hope that they do not put Snubby at shooting guard and return of DJ at lock
No.
at any point this season.
I hope
I
not.
think it'd be the worst decision to make, but that's my early prediction. I don't think that we'll see Snubby at lockdown the whole year. I think that it'll get to a point where they're realizing that it might not be there completely, and they put Jay Bull in there. And also another prediction, I think if Snubby is going to stay at the lockdown, I think that that man is going to be cracked on fucking steals. I think he's going to be like Timely Cook, just plucking people over and over and over again.
Okay.
Somehow, some way, like glitching out the game to
Yeah,
make sure he just gets a
you're
fucking
real
bunch
high
of
on the
plucks.
Magic. Okay.
I'm high on the Magic just apart from Snubby. I genuinely don't know, again, like what to expect, even to the slightest with his game in this. But yeah, I think they'll be contenders. I think with the all-star cast that they have with those guys, I think that is just this has been like the build-up for it, right? They had a good 3v3 run, and then now you're shifting over to 5v5. You have a good roster to go into it with.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's get into NBL odds. We got 4 teams in the East, and then we're gonna take a small break so I can call my internet guy, and then we're gonna get into the Western Conference. NBL odds gaming: C's, Harry, Bag, Plu, and Milo. I have so many bubble teams, and I feel like I have too many bubble teams, but I'm gonna put them on the bubble again. I'm very worried about this team. I'm very worried about this team in 5s. I was higher on them in 3s. I'm looking at this team in 5s, and I'm like, blah. How are they going to score? Like, C's has had decent 5 seasons in the past. Bag, didn't have as great of a 3 season this time. Plu, I'm a bit, like, what is he going to be on both ends? And then you got Milo and Harry, the A and Z boys. Like, they're good players, but it's not. I wish they had more support on this roster. I'm not confident. Yeah. I don't know, Chief. I don't know.
I think I'm
How are you
putting
going?
I'm putting my first meh.
Are we gonna do it?
I
See,
think so.
even your dog is like, "What the hell did you just say?"
No,
You're gonna put him in meh.
No. So like I always have support for my guys from Europe and A and Z.
Yep.
But let's keep it realistic, right? You have 2 guys from A and Z, one playing a position that he hasn't played yet at shooting guard, which means that he's going to have to switch to a new role, playing defense up top.
Yep.
Which actually we did see him do that with NBL quite a bit at the point guard position, and it wasn't anything spectacular. You then put in Plu,
Yes.
who when from the bits that we got to see from him when he was on the Hornets, nothing special. Sniper out of the corner, that was about it. But his shooting has digressed.
Yes.
Milo, the only experience that we had from him, I think that was when he was on the bench with Pistons GT. And I think he played like 1 or 2 games. Nothing too crazy. Bag motion is going to have to put on one of the best defensive master classes that you are ever going to have to see for this team.
Agreed.
C's, I think he'll kind of do his thing. He'll go out there, get you some scoring. I worry about the playmaking aspect of things and how much Harry's truly going to end up getting involved. But again, I feel like this team, personally, is one high-level defensive power forward away from me to take them out of this and maybe put them, like, if I had to, on the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if they just had a solid back end to go with bag motion. So, like, I'm talking, if they still had DJ Too Cold, I'll put him in there just because it's an easy comparison. If they still had DJ Too Cold instead of Plu, say a bag motion DJ and Milo, I think that would make me change my mind them a little bit more.
Yeah.
But just, you don't have another almost like top guy at a position to go with bag motion. Like, bag motion when he's at his peak is one of the best lockdowns that we have. There's nobody else that in that 1, 2, 4, and 5 position that they have that we're like, are they even definitely not top 5? Are they even top 10 at their positions? So that's the way I look at it. They'll get my first meh. I was felt guilted almost to be like, oh, maybe I have to put them there because I had so many pretenders and contenders, all that other stuff. But I don't know. I mean, we kind of thought the same thing last year, right? When Moody put this team together, not a lot of people had them in the mix. Maybe they could create some magic again. But I just think when you look at the names of that team last year, once they started playing well, we're like, okay, this makes sense. If this team starts playing really good and like replicates last year, I'd be in shock in the best way possible. Like, holy fuck, they're actually doing this. But yeah, they'll be my first meh team in the Eastern Conference.
On the Nets gaming crew: Greens, Reezy, Street Steez, and Walnut.
Easy. Contender.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm excited to see Walnut play again.
Here's my biggest worry with this team. I have one worry with this team. Will they hit enough threes to keep up with the other elite teams in the East? Reezy, not a high volume 3-point shooter, has shot well in the past from three, but not a high volume guy. Streets, at least in fives, never been a huge high percentage 3-point shooter, been pretty average, a little bit above maybe. And then same thing with Steez. None of those guys have ever been blow your socks off 3-point shooters, especially Reed. This is the biggest season of Reed's career. He's been bumped around, different teams, different roles, whatever. Now he's got the easiest job of all time, and it's be the shooting guard next to Greens. Hit a lot of threes, shoot a lot of threes, get some plucks in transition. That's it. I worry that they don't have enough 3-point shooting on this team, but that is going to be for the very, very top finest of margins. I think that this team generally is going to be really good. I think the Greens Walnut pick and roll is going to be a pleasure to watch because Greens is a good pick and roll point guard. I think defensively they'll be solid. Walnut's going to have a lot of blocks off the weak side off of this team. The Street Steez pick and roll defensive combo I think will be okay. I'm okay on this team. I think they'll be contenders, but I don't think they're the best team in the conference. That's what.
Yeah. I'll still give that crown to Knicks Gaming.
Yeah.
I think that the Nets will be good. Like I'm not really setting the bar too high with them in terms of they're gonna absolutely dominate everybody. Just because I feel like that so many, like, well, I shouldn't say so many players, but like we're talking about Reezy and Walnut, right? They've been in the league for a very long time, and their style of play from where it once was has definitely changed up. Like Walnuts has always been as consistent as they come. Like I've never have a bad thing to say about Walnut. Reezy started his career right. He came in as being one of the best shooting guards that we had in the world. Immediately had to switch to point guard. Ended up winning Rookie of the Year. I think for Reezy to really turn his career around to get back to that high level, they have to play to his strengths, which is catch and shoot. If they can almost play him as a sharp and a guy who obviously he's changed up his game to where everybody now has to be a secondary ball handler. I think that they're going to be at their best though if they can find ways to get Reezy open off ball, which I think is going to put a lot of pressure on Greens to really have to show the playmaking bag. And I think that's going to honestly come down to him. Obviously, we know Kurt is not really the coach of the team. He does wear the headset.
He's the leader.
But I think it's going to be a lot of calls coming out from like Walnut. It's going to be a lot of calls coming out from Reed himself, maybe even Steez in those type of instances. So yeah, I think that they're going to be a contenders. Don't really have too much to say. I think that they're just going to kind of be, I don't want to call it a middle of the pack team. I don't think they're going to be an exciting team to watch. I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to go out there and like fucking wow us every single night.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to get the job done, but I don't think it's going to be, you know, in any type of spectacular fashion.
Yeah, I agree. I think this team will be very fun to watch. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit around and pretend like this team is going to like totally like blow me away. It's a good team. It's a fun team. It's a fine team. They're going to be great. But I still think that there are teams in the East that are a little bit better. Also, 1 second. Okay, cool. Now my internet's going to get here today instead of tomorrow. Second of all, let's get on to our next team. I'm totally off topic. I need to cancel this. Hold on. Cancel. Created by mistake. And bam, canceled. Okay. On to the next team. Raptors Uprising GC. Antoine Love, Symptoms, Ham, Crush, and Ball Like Seam. I am going to put this team in the contenders category. I'm very confused by this team considering Ham, Crush, and Seam don't fill me with a ton of joy. But I just love watching Antoine Love play fives. And I think at the bare minimum, he's going to get this team into the playoffs. He's fun. I think Symptoms is the perfect shooting guard to play next to him. And if Ham has a big season, Dirk, this team's going to be really good. I think a lot of this team falls on whether Ham can take the leap and start playing like a first-round pick. Last year, I didn't really like him that much. I thought he was pretty meh. This year, I'm excited to see how Ham does. He's got Crush on the back end now. Seam had a great year. It's all going to be about chemistry with this team. You know, Antoine Love is an interesting personality. How are they going to mesh with him in 5v5s? He can be a very demanding guy. So we'll see how they play, but he's going to win them a lot of games. So maybe listen to the guy. I would go with contenders for them in fives.
I put them as an on the bubble team.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to get the same explosiveness that we saw from Antoine Love in this year. I don't want to say year one, half year. coming into this second year with him. I think with the way that the game was played when he first came, I think caught a lot of people off guard. And even then, right? Like, how underwhelming was he in threes to start it off? We're
Yeah.
like, holy shit, dude. You do this in fives. We didn't get to see you in threes. We're so excited he came out. I'm like, I remember mentioning an all-star, which I wasn't trying to judge too much about it because I know that they didn't have badges on their builds.
Yeah.
But I remember taking my headset off and saying to you, I was like, this is the Antoine Love we've been waiting for in this threes mode. I was like, okay. So I was like, let's wait till the league build comes out. It'll surely be a different story.
Sure.
A lot of the same. So I'll put them as an on the bubble team. I still have a lot of questions with like Crush and his decline throughout his career so far.
Fair.
Seam didn't wow me at center last year. I know that his numbers were fucking great.
Yes,
Like he was putting up some crazy numbers that a lot of other centers were, but I'm thinking more of the defensive side of things. I think Hom too. Still don't know how to feel about Hom at the lockdown. I feel like he has potential to
I'm
be
right there with
to be
you, buddy.
great.
I'm like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Here?
And then I think for Symptoms too, I've always said this even when Symptoms was on the Mavs in his first year. I know the stats didn't really back it up, but I was like, he is a very consistent shooter at times. Like he would go on those stretches of like a couple games where every shot that he was taking just seemed like he was greening it. I think that if the Raptors can find a way to utilize Symptoms how the Magic did last year with some of those plays that they had, if you remember some of the off-ball stuff that they had specifically drawn up for Symptoms himself, I think that is where this team could kind of reach their peak. But again, you're now asking Antoine Love to show more of the playmaking chops, which is that always that evolution that we see from so many guards. And I don't think that last year Antoine Love did that good of a job with Rigby with that. I think there was a lot of bailouts to where it's like, fucking go get us something, Rigby. And it would register an assist because guess what? There's like 3 seconds on the shot clock. He has to take a couple dribbles.
Rigby
and
had
shoot.
a great close to the season last year. I want to argue it. Here's your dog's murphing you in the back.
I don't know what she's doing. Oh, she grabbed something out of my suitcase. Okay.
What did you say for Raptors, by the way? Contenders, pretenders, man?
On the bubble.
On the bubble.
Yep.
All right. Your dog agrees. All right, last team in the East, and then we're going to head to the West. Wizards. Benzo, B-Rich, just awkward Nudini type. Come one, come all. Come watch the Magic Man try to carry a team to 5v5. I really like this team, Dirk. I'm going to put them on the bubble, but I think they are going to be fun. I think B-Rich and Benzo is a perfect backcourt combo. I think the real ceiling of this team is what are they going to get offensively from the rest of the guys. Because defensively, I think they're going to be good. I think Awkward Dini type and B-Rich should be good. I think Benzo is a good defender in his own right. But what are they going to get offensively from Awkward Dini and type? You know, Awkward had a tough offensive season last year. So did Nudini. They have a new proper point guard in there now. Type doesn't really get close to double-digit scoring that much anymore. He's not the guy we saw back in Season 3. I think this team will be good. I think they will be competing for the 5 seed. I don't think they're going to be one of the 3 best teams in the league or in the conference, but I think they'll be solid. So I'm going to put them on the bubble.
Yeah, I had them slot on the bubble too.
Okay.
Still a lot of questions, I think, with Benzo at point guard in 5v5 and how that will end up going. Obviously, I think I'm going to go everything that you just said and just piggyback off you because you've actually seen this team play in person already.
I have.
And I did not, but I know that B-Rich has been good. I'm assuming that they utilize B-Rich in a lot more catch and shoot stuff compared to him actually having the ball in his hands and dribbling and finding ways to create. I think that this is going to be a great defensive team.
Yes.
I think that with anytime with Awkward, Nudini, and Type, like those 3 names, especially with Awkward and Dini and the chemistry that they have, I think that the only thing that could maybe get away from them is that I feel like a defensive style, right? Like when you look at the Wiz when they're at their best, when it was Awkward, Nudini, and Dayfry, I feel like with centers in this league, if you had to compare styles, I think the defensive side of the game, would you say if you're comparing Type and Dayfry, I think Type plays a similar style to him in terms of how aggressive that he is, but Type takes a lot more risks, and he doesn't have a high success rate with those risks that he's taking. I feel like he gets punished a lot from how overly aggressive that he can be. So I think it's just going to be, if Type can kind of contain himself a little bit and shift into a role to where he's playing more off Awkward Nudini compared to, I'm going to fucking fly out of this corner and go make a play. Yep. I feel like their defense could be one of the top in the conference, but I need to see a little bit more from Benzo. I don't think in threes he was that great. Obviously from B-Rich, you can show me the scrimmage game numbers in the Corridor Cup against the Celtics, but I just know B Rich, and B Rich with the ball in his hands has not been the greatest for a team. So it
No.
might be a lot of pressure if Benzo comes out there and isn't the hottest.
All right, so that's the Eastern Conference. Sixers, Cavs, Celtics, Gen.G, Hawks, Heat, Hornets, Knicks, Magic, NBL, Nets, Raptors, and Wiz. Give me 1 second. We will edit this out of the pod. Mariah came and knocked on my door. And we are back with the rest of the 5v5 preview. Thank you for waiting with me through that small intermission. That will be definitely edited out of the live podcast. Let's get into the Western Conference. Blazer 5 up first. Claude, Ubots, Fayez, Chaos, and May. It's May. This is going to be my first May. I'm sorry. They don't have a lockdown. Mm-hmm. They can try to lie to themselves. They can try to lie to us. They can try to tell people that they have a lockdown. They can tell everybody how excited they are for Ubots and Fayez. I'm sorry. You guys botched the draft. You don't have a lockdown. You didn't ad wave anybody for some reason, even though there's plenty of lockdowns out there you could have picked up. They didn't spend any time seeing who was better between Ubots and Fayez during threes. We just kind of saw them meh. And now they're left with an extremely meh team. Like, this team is meh. Like, who's playing shooting guard? Who's playing lock? Why aren't you helping Claude more? Why are you giving Claude a center in May who hasn't been good offensively in a really long time? Who is helping Chaos on the defensive end, making sure that their whole team doesn't descend into chaos? Like, this team is a dereliction in team building. It is a dereliction of team building. This team makes me angry, and I feel bad for the players because I don't dislike any of these players, man. It's just the combination that they have put together makes me really upset because Claude has proven that he can compete at high levels in this league. That is really hard to find. A young guard who can be the guy, and they decided to surround him with dudes who are straight up not good for his play style. Like, Claude and Ubots could be a fun backcourt. Not with Fayez at lockdown. How is he going to get stops? Like, how is Ubots and Fayez a good combo?
This is a team I don't even want to talk about because I feel like that everything that we're saying now, we said the exact same thing during threes and nothing has changed. So I have them in Meh as well. It's a product of you drafting like absolute shit.
Why did they draft? Like, they didn't have, nobody forced them to take Fayez at 8. Nobody forced them to take May in the first round. Nobody forced them to follow that up with another shooting guard as they're like, nobody forced them to do this stuff. And I think the funniest part is that the attitude that comes out of that front office is that, like, oh, we know better. You don't. Sorry.
Can you believe this, by the way? So I don't know if I have your draft Bible document that you have. That's where I've been keeping track of like our contenders, pretenders, and everything.
Yeah.
I think we have draft grades next to them, and you gave B5 a D plus, and I gave them a D. But like now looking at it, I'm like, I want to give them an F. But then also we have NA for some teams, which I don't know why we have NA for some teams. Cavs, Celtics, Sixers, Knicks.
They didn't make any
Nets
picks.
and Pacers. Oh, okay, so that's what it was. So yeah, we both gave them a D plus and a D. Would you change your draft grade to an F after seeing what you saw in threes?
Yes. They don't have a lockdown, and it is foolish of them to think that they know better and can think that they can compete at this level without somebody at the proper position. Like, they don't even have anybody on this team who can play lockdown. And I'll tell you one thing, man. That Dayfry tweet where he put out on draft night, like, ha ha ha, you guys know nothing. Fayez is going to play lockdown. Like, that tweet was so bad. That tweet looks so bad in retrospect because now Fayez is actually going to play lock and he is going to get killed in this conference. He is going to get roasted alive. These are the point guards that Fayez is going to have to play against if he's playing lockdown. CP, Vandy, Dynasty, Cap, Cooks, Ant, Bear to Beast, and CB13. Also, Mama I'm That Man, Tutak, Shifty Kai, Six Mellow, Johnny Red, and Gazuli, who will all be trying to switch on to him to play against the lockdown. Because I'd rather go up against Fayez defensively than Ubots. Ubots is actually a pretty good defensive shooting guard. So I don't know, man. I also feel terrible for Fayez. He's a shooting guard. You're gonna put him in lockdown? It's just gross. I'm going meh. Are you matching me?
Yes, I'm going meh.
Ugh, I can't talk about this team anymore. It makes me sad. Poor Joe. On to Bucks Gaming. Oh, Bucks Gaming, Dirk. Bucks Gaming. Let me tell you a little something about Bucks Gaming. You are staring straight into the face of the second best team in the NBA 2K League on paper going into this season. This is one of the best preseason rosters ever assembled. This is one of the most informed rosters ever assembled, coming off of their crazy closeout to 3v3. They've CP coming in as supported as Blazers. Take notes. The Bucks acquired CP. Look at what they have around CP. You got nothing even close to that. This team has arguably 3 blue chip players, maybe 4 if CP turns up, maybe 5 if Retro is an extremely good defensive power forward. I think this team is going to dominate teams this year. I think they are going to smush teams under their boot like bugs. I am very excited to watch this team play 2K. I think Dimes on this popping playmaker build that I hear is dominating centers. I think he is going to be sweet on it. And Johnny and Dawsix and CP are going to put up oodles of points. I couldn't be higher on this team. If the Warriors didn't exist, the Bucks would be my pick to win the title. But the Warriors exist, so the Bucks are my team to be the second best team in the league on paper right now.
Yeah, I think Retro is going to be solid. I do have some questions about CP, honestly, with how he's going to kind of flow. I think that while like Cooks had some inconsistencies in like big moments and trying to shine with the shooting, I feel like CP's kind of like the same way, but just doesn't get the threes up off it as like a high enough clip with it. But I could see this being a team where CP is going to be the point guard, but Johnny Red is going to have his ball in the hands a lot to actually, try to cook up, put the ball on the floor and try to make stuff move from it. So it will be interesting. Definitely a contender. I think that's one of the easier calls that we've had to make so far with these teams. But yeah, I don't have much to say. I think that if they come out there the pop and the pop is actually viable, I think that you're going to see a lot of fucking Team USA ran shit with this squad. And I think that Dime's going to show you why he catapulted himself to be the best center in retail with that unique style of play that he had with that center build.
I am very excited to watch this team play 2K. There are just certain teams that get me out of bed in the morning, and when we go on air tomorrow, I'm gonna think to myself, man, we get to watch Bucks Gaming play today, and that means that today is a better day. On to Dukes and Vanitos. Now a changed roster. It is now Ryan 101, Gazuli, Warnox, Anais, and Big Rain. And guess what, Dirk? Because they made the trade, I like this team more than I did before. I think the Big Rain to Scorio upgrade is huge because they've given Ryan and Gazuli a bailout option. Hey, oh no, shot clock is winding down. What do I do? Get it to Big Rain. He will pump fake, put the ball up. If he misses, he'll get his own offensive rebound and kick it back out to you. Hey, I'm struggling in the pick and roll. Oh, Big Rain's open under the rim. Oh no, we need a defensive stop. There's Rain for the stop and the rebound and the outlet pass. He is one of the most underrated players in the league. I cannot believe that the Pacers traded him away. I think that is a gigantic mistake. He has only gotten better in his 2 years in the league. His first year in the league, he was good. Last year, he was genuinely one of the best centers in the league. I am shocked they traded him. I think might end up really ruining the Pacers season. Not that Scorio is that bad, but it's just that Rain was that good. And I think this Dukes team is going to be on the bubble now that they traded for Rain. And I'm actually, I think, higher on this team than most. So on the bubble, not going to make the playoffs, but I think they will be a fun team to compete in the ticket.
I think Pretenders.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't know if anybody's even. I don't want to put a meh because, like, I feel like when we set the tone of meh with B5, like to put another team in that category would be very disrespectful. I don't think that they are at this level because they actually have guys that are based on their positions of drafting. So that's why I will put it Pretenders. But if there was like an in between, they'd probably be slotted right there. I don't think that, at an elite level, what we saw from Ryan in the 5v5 world, nothing too flashy. Same thing with Gazuli. I feel like Anais has had those good runs. Again, do you remember his shooting last year with Gen G was atrocious out of that corner? I mean, we were fucking celebrating him finally hitting a 3-point shot wide open. Hopefully that's not a telltale sign of maybe what we see going into this year. Of course, a lot of questions to be answered with Warnox too, going into his first time in 5v5. But I am the same. When this trade went through and I was like, this is an easy win for Dukes Infinitos getting somebody like Big Rain. They now have an actual true center to run with the guard duo of this team. But I just think with a lot of these other teams, it's going to be so hard to really try to keep up with them. So that's why I put them in the Pretenders.
Okay, pretenders category. I'm a little bit higher on them just because I think if Ryan can get his game into form, I still think this team can be good. And I like the Warnocks and Ias defensive combo. I don't think this team is going to be competing for the top seeds in the West, but I think this team will be scrappy and fun. Speaking of scrappy and fun, it's the Grizz, Vandy, Rigby, Icy, Odon, and Spartan. I don't think this team, Dirk, has enough like blue chip players to truly compete, but I think they are fun. I think they are scrappy. I think they will play some nice defense. I think they will score a little bit. But I don't think this team is going to like blow the doors off. I think they're going to be good, but not great. They'll be fine, yet they won't blow you away, but they'll be fine. I will put them on the bubble. I think they might go exactly 500 this year, maybe a little bit higher, but that's okay because I think their goal is just to get the roster stabilized after CP and Dimes and Cooks all requested a trade in one offseason. So for them to even be 500 after all that shenanigans happened to them, I think is a pretty good accomplishment.
I have pretenders for them.
Pretenders,
too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that when you're looking from an experience standpoint, yes, they do have that right. When you talk about Vandy, Rigby, and Spartan, Icy's played, but this is a completely different story. Same thing with Odon. You remember back in 3v3, I said to you, it's like I have some questions with Odon, going into 5 versus 5 with threes being his primary mode. I feel like he's going to be very vocal. I don't think Icy is vocal enough at the lockdown position, but of course, we saw him pre-draft have some success with his team, win the UPA tournament with him at the lockdown. I don't think that Vandy and Rigby are going to give us enough, though, in a 5v5 game. I know that we've seen some. Layla, stop it. I know I've seen Vandy, have some crazy stretches. I don't know if Rigby's back to that same level or even like gotten better from what we saw last time. It's been kind of a build back process for him. But yeah, that's why like the team doesn't really blow me away. I feel like they could be a sneaky one, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to be honestly put on the bubble for them.
I agree. I'm worried to see like how this team is going to really, really score. It's how do I put this? It is going to be a fun year for the Grizz, but I don't think it is going to be one that consists of a lot of wins. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, on to our next team. Jazz Gaming, Fiend, X6 Mello, Kaze, Miami, and Rhea. No more Justin. He is out. X6 Mello is in. And because of that, Dirk, I'm going to take a bit of a swing here. I'm going to go contenders for the Jazz. I'm taking a swing. All right, I'm going to try to see if I can knock this one out of the park. I think Fiend 6 Mello as a backcourt duo is going to surprise a lot of people. I think offensively that it really works. I think Mello can be a high volume shooter if you need him to be. I think Fiend being in a little bit more of a playmaking role with less pressure on him is a great spot for him to be in. I think you're going to see him average 17 and 10, 18 and 11, like a lot of those games. And I think that's right where Fiend needs to be. Kaze is money out of the corner. Rhea's still one of the best players in the world. A lot of this team hinges on whether or not Miami can defend properly, and we will see. Obviously, he's going to have his buddy Kaze, so at least he'll get through it. We have forgotten how amazing Rhea is. If there was ever a team that Rhea was going to be able to backpack and get to the playoffs, it's this team. You couldn't ask for a better team around Rhea. You got Miami and Kaze, who are great shooters out of the corner. You got Mello and Fiend, who are good off-ball players. I didn't like the Fiend pick at 9 because they followed it up with Justin as their last pick of the draft, and I thought that was a terrible way to support their young point guard. But now they got 6 Mello next to Fiend. I like this team. I'm slapping them with a contender tag, and I'm taking a swing here on the Jazz.
I was thinking about the same thing as you with putting contenders just because I saw the front court, and I think that's a very scary front court. But with 2 rookies being able to play this, and of course Fiend only playing like 1 game of threes, like on the, like one of their elimination games. And then 6 Mello obviously coming in. I think that obviously when you get picked up in AdWave, like you have a lot of hype behind you, and it's kind of like a second chance of life. You go from crying on draft nights and then being picked up by a team, a few months down the line. I do have them on the bubble. Okay. Just because I don't want to put that much faith into that backcourt just yet, but this could easily be one of these teams that I could see having the elite level defense. And as time starts to progress on, we get to the turn, maybe this kind of flips. But yeah, I have them on the bubble too. Well, you had them contender. I had them on the bubble.
Okay, you'll go with on the bubble. That's fine then. On the bubble for Dirk. All right, on to Kingsguard Gaming. Fat, score, break, carry, and kick. You want something funny about this team, Dirk? Carey has as many 2K League seasons registered as this entire rest of the roster does combined.
Damn.
This is a young team with a lot of people that are unproven. I don't even know if I want to like make a prediction for them because I don't think they're going to be good. I don't really need them to be good. I have the same requirement I had of them out of threes. Show me that there is progression here with this project. Show me that the rebuild that you guys have been under for 2 years has a sense of direction, has a sense of play style, has a sense of competency. Because I have not seen it. I didn't see it in threes. There was nothing last year that got me excited. And I'm worried that we're coming into another year, Dirk, where they have a lot of young talent. But I don't think a lot of them got better over the course of threes. Like, Score got a little bit better to the point where he just stopped being a coward when it came to shooting threes. I don't know what that was for the entire first half of the year. Once they put Carey into the team and calm things down. But is Bray just cooked? Is this just a pick that's not going to work out? Did he just land with the wrong team? I don't really know what we're getting out of Kick. Is Kick playing center? Is Bray playing center? What's Fat going to be like? We haven't seen him play at all. I just, there's so many question marks for this team. I kind of want to put them in the meh category because I just don't know how they're going to win games. I just don't see it. I think they're going to be one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And offensively, man, like, Score needs to show me something these first couple weeks, or, you know, that number 4 overall pick is going to start looking scarier and scarier.
Yeah, I'm going to put them in meh as well.
Okay.
I think the biggest issue with this team, right, is if you've shown that you want to build around Bray specifically, get that man on one position and don't take him off the position and build everybody around. I feel like now when you bring in people, you're like, well, I could shuffle Bray. I could put him at the 3, 4, 5. I can change some things up. I think that's why we haven't been able to see him take like a league level leap yet with his gameplay and start to catapult himself into these top conversations, being like the true superstar on the team.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so hard to get a read from them. Like, they did show a tiny bit of life towards the end of threes where they were actually winning series, but you really want us to hype you up as being a professional team. Like, oh my God, Harris, they're fucking winning. No, it's the very end of the year. I hope you're winning some games where teams might be taking like their foot off the gas. So like, I don't know. It was very disappointing to see them in threes. I think that now we kick it up to 5s. Everything gets a little bit harder. I'll put them in meh as well. I originally had them in pretenders, but I decided to swing it that way because I don't think anybody thought the Kings were going to be good.
No. Lakers Gaming, Dynasty,
Easy.
Shifty Kai,
Easy.
Crazy,
Easy.
Green 2 Nice, OVC.
Easy.
What do you got?
Easy. Contenders. I know you're leaning in the bubble because you're listening to what people are saying about certain players and maybe not performing too well. Let me change your mind. They have Shifty Kai. They have Shifty Kai.
I'm putting the Pretenders tag on him.
On the Lakers.
Yeah.
You think that they're going to go from that 3s to just completely crap in the bed for 5s?
I think they missed the playoffs. I don't love the back end of this front court in 5s. I'll just put that out there. And honestly, man, like, you gotta have a PG. And I think Dynasty is a good player, but like, they're gonna have to really carry him, man. We haven't seen him play like Dirk. Here's my problem. It's been a long time since we have seen the best of Dynasty. Like, it's been a long time. It has been months since we have seen the best version of this guy. We didn't see him at all in 3s, understandably so. We didn't see him at the end of pre-draft. We really just saw him at his best at the very beginning of pre-draft. We haven't seen him be that good since. I'm worried that they, at their 2 power positions, at the 2 positions that at the end of the day are the most important, and that's point guard and power forward, I think they're a little bit too weak. I think Green 2 Nice is good. I think Dynasty is So I'm going to go Pretenders until proven otherwise. Kai, Crazy, and VC is going to be great for this team, but the West is sick, dude. The West is great, and there are a lot of really good teams in this conference. I'm worried that they're a player too short. I'm worried that they're one guy too short at power forward or point guard. So
I'm gonna be honest with you, though. Comparing them to some of the other West teams, like I think that they blow some of these other teams out of the water.
Maybe.
I don't know. I think that they're going to be contenders. I think any team with Shifty Kai is going to be put into contention. I think the only time I didn't feel that way was when we honestly, I'd never really seen Kai play because he was an Xbox player, and that was when he got picked onto Gen G, which he was still able to make some shit shake with that squad. But of course, COVID year, factoring all that in, I just you bringing in somebody like Kai, who now has the taste of a championship, is the best shooting guard that we have in 5v5 as the season just continuously progresses on. I do think that it's going to have to be maybe backpack mode. Again, Dynasty is a rookie.
Yes.
There's a lot of pressure on him right now because the Spicy Boy stuff, and so him and Tutok, all those Zen allegations. I don't think the style of play, if he were to go to what he tried in retail to where he had success and tried to do it in the league, I don't think that's going to be the case. And I wonder if that's maybe what he's been trying to do is like the pull up middies like over and over and over again. I think he's going to be able to be able to find a rhythm though. I do like. I'm kind of wondering. I hope VC still plays lock. I hope Crazy is going to end up being the center, or even then maybe Trelly there and then put Crazy at the 4, so that way you kind of emulate your threes defense of what you had. I think that they're going to be stellar though. Now, do I think they're going to win a championship? No, I still have the Warriors winning the championship easily. But I do think that they're going to be contenders. I don't think that I want to put them on the bubble.
Okay, contenders it is for Lakers gaming. I need to see it. How about this? It's pretenders unless Kai goes absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah, if for some reason Kai just like can't get it going, this team is just going to be awful. But I mean, that's what happens, right? When you have the best player in the league, and if they don't perform, like that's what's going to end up going down. So yeah, I'll lock them into contenders.
Okay. On to the next one. Mavs Gaming, Cap, Fana, Jar City Shots, and Dayfry. There is rumors that Dayfry might be playing Lockdown. Yeah, I'm doing it again, buddy. I'm putting the Pretenders tag on him. I am not sold by this team. I am very concerned. I just this team doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Where are the off-ball shooters? Where are the guys that are going to be good around Dayfry? Where are the playmakers on the ball? Like, I feel like there just aren't a lot of great Dayfry players on this team. And I like Cap. I think Cap's a nice dude. I think he's a good 2K player. I don't think he's good enough to be the leading scorer on a team. And that's what they're going to need him to be. Same thing with Fana. I think Fana's a nice guard. I don't think he's good enough to be the best guard on a playoff team. And then you go down the line. I don't know if Jar City has the offensive capabilities to be like a serious corner player. And then this Dayfry shots thing, like it kind of makes sense on paper, but if this is what makes Dayfry go play Lockdown, it's a bad trade. Like, Dayfry needs to be at center. Like, even if it's on a popper, what's he doing at Lockdown? Like, I guess that he has more control over the defense, but like, I don't like where this is trending, Dirk. My gut feeling is that there's something up here. Like, there's a lot of rumors about Fana getting waived. It didn't end up happening. That tells me that they were at least thinking about it. Pretenders for me. I think this team might be checked.
I will go with Pretenders. Because like logically speaking, like everything should play out with Jar City Lockdown, Shots power forward, Dayfry center, or Dayfry power forward, Shots center. Which it always seems to be like the case whenever Shots is on the team, like he'll go power forward. But I think that when you look at Shots historically, like when he is at his best, it's when he is at the center position playing out of the corner. I think that's why the issue with him kind of always arises. I'll put them Pretenders. Cap can go crazy, cannot go crazy. I don't have a lot of faith in Fanta. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I think threes was the time for him to change a lot of people's minds about how he was individually. Didn't change much. Had that good stretch where they're finally starting to close out some games. I don't know what pep talk happened, but I've just never really liked Fanta in a 5v5 world. I just feel like he's never been able to truly establish a rhythm. And if that is true with like Dayfry having to end up going to Lockdown again, it's no knock on Dayfry, but we want to fucking see the guy who the GOAT of the NBA 2K League on his natural position. We want to see him at the center. Like it's just going to be a waste if he goes to lock there as well. So I'll throw the Pretenders on them.
Yeah, I just don't see how this team is going to end up working out. I think that it's It's just it. Do you know what it is, Dirk? It's just too shaky to me. This doesn't feel good. I don't feel good about how this whole experiment has gone so far this year. But I've lived to be proven wrong. Pacers Gaming, Cooks, Chess, Range, J Snags, and now Scorio on this team. Or sorry, they have Subgoated instead of Range.
Yep.
I'm gonna say this nicely. I think I would rather have Range and Big Rain than Subgoated and Oreo. I don't like their moves. I think their moves have made this team really strange. And it doesn't really feel like a cohesive unit. It feels like it feels like an island of misfit toys now. How does Subgoated fit on this team? This team needed a good point of attack defender, and he did not prove to be that last year. They don't need an offensive lockdown. They already have a more offensive or more defensive based. I just bleh. I don't like this roster anymore. I'm putting them on the bubble. They make me upset. Why did you surround Cooks with this team? This is such a strange team.
I actually put them as pretenders.
Ooh, do you know what? I'll match you on that one. I am not happy with their in-season moves.
No, so what, the roster, Cooks, Chess, Subgoated, J Snack, Scorio. I mean, like,
this is going to sound bad, dude. I feel like they've almost given Cooks too much control. Like, look, I'm just going to say this. He can call me a liar all he wants on Twitter. I'm sorry, dude. You don't trade your center this close to the season unless he's not getting along with the point guard. I'm sorry. I've been around this league long enough. You can't bullshit me. I can't be bullshit when it comes to this stuff. There's no universe where a center is getting traded this close to 5v5 if his point guard likes him. I'm sorry. That's not how this works. You can't convince me otherwise. I'm not dumb. I know how this goes. I've seen this 100 times.
I liked his marketable response, I think, to you. Sometimes things.
Rain's a nice dude and a nice player. Had nothing to do with it. It's like, dude, you guys clearly were not getting along in scrims. You asked for a new center. They went out and got you a worse one. There you go. That's
where, I don't have the most faith in it. I'm gonna put them as pretenders. I don't think it's gonna be that good of a Pacers gaming season. I think that Jay Snags will be fighting a lot, kind of like we saw him do last year. And I would not be shocked, though, if the Pacers are in the same spot that they've been in the past 2 years now, where guess what, Harris? If they just win one game when it matters most, they will get forward and they will push into the playoffs. I just don't think that is going to be the case this year. I think it's going to be a lot different, right, from the situations that we've seen Cooks in with some of the names that he's had on his side since he's been in the NBA 2K League. So, pretenders.
Pretenders as well. Pistons GT. Ant, Beast Move, Joe Marcon, Mona. I have too much respect for this team to not make them a contender, Dirk. But I want it to be known that 1 week of play could absolutely shift my opinion. I need to see the fire. I need to see the passion. I need to see that want to. I need to see the Ant season that wanted to light the league on fire last year and had something to prove. I need to see the Jomar of old. I need to see it because I didn't see it during threes. We talked about it at the end of their season. I need to see the passion. If I don't see the passion, I'm switching them to pretenders. But for now, I have too much respect to take them out of the category because they still have so much talent and they have so much potential. But Dirk, I got to see it. I reserve the right to change my pick.
So I'm putting them as a contender.
Okay.
I was close to putting them on the bubble. I think that now look at this since Ant came into the league, who his shooting guards have been.
Yes.
So Kingsguard Gaming, he was the shooting guard. You look at Knicks Gaming, he had Malik, and they went on a fucking great run, and they lost to a fucking early.
Yes.
Pretty sure he'd probably still be on the Knicks if they ended up winning that game, and I think they probably would have won the whole thing there too in the tournament. Now you flip it over to when he was on Pistons GT, he had EG that first year.
Yep.
Second year he had. What do you have second year? Be Rich. Be Rich. I think that obviously the EG pick I think was more of the safe one. And trying to get somebody to buy in, utilize some of the plays that he had. And of course, EG was just average. For Be Rich, I feel like there could have been that huge potential for them to utilize him. And while I don't think Be Rich was as motivated playing with Pistons GT as he is when he gets back put on a whiz team.
Yep.
I think giving Ant and historically great shooting guard like Beast Move is scary for some of these teams in the league.
I would agree.
I think that Beast Move for the first time in a while now actually has a guard who's going to be able to set him up quite a bit, utilize him off ball, and just kind of to when Beast Mode was playing at his strengths when he was the best, right? He was playing with CB13. That's when he was like at his peak.
Yep.
I think Ant's going to give him a similar vibe to what CB13 would give him. And I think it's going to rejuvenate Beast Move's career, honestly, at the shooting guard position.
Yep.
My concerns with this team is, of course, what we saw from Jomar, Connor defensively in threes. And then now you bring in Mona. The only reason I put them as a contender is because, yes, they have the names. I think that Jomar and Connor, they're too good at the game. They will end up figuring it out. Mona is always going to be the question for me, but I feel like I'm good to speak on this compared to a lot of other people who watch the NBA 2K League, to be honest, because I was there at APAC.
Yep.
And while it's not playing North American best of the best competition, I watched this man do shit defensively and offensively that I think if you put a North American player in those situations, they would not even think about doing. He's aggressive. He's confident. His offensive game, if Ant could trust Mona to like try out some plays up top, like with him being on a popper, obviously they're probably going to end up running 5 out. If Ant could trust him and Mona can make the correct reads like he does in his own region, I think that they're going to be taken to a complete other level. Now, let's talk about the bad side of things. If Mona comes out and sucks, this team is going to be in for it. I mean, if there was a place to hide somebody if they are not as good, it is the center position in a 5 out. That is always the safe bet. The guy who's sitting in the corner rotating, and then you can put him in a corner, kind of like how they utilize Ramo, to be brutally honest with you.
Exactly.
When he couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
So I think that some defensive questions, I know that they've been hammering the fuck out of 5s even since 3s in terms of like scrimmaging. As soon as Mona got off the plane, they fucking threw him in a scrimmage. I was like, Dwan, that is evil, dude. He just got like flying from Australia, stayed in Canada for a bit. He's like falling asleep, rubbing his eyes like while like looking at the monitor. So I think that they'll be good. They're a team that I'll put them as a contender. I was going to put them on the bubble, but I just think that with Beast Move and Ant, I think that's going to be some heavy scoring. And I still don't know what Ant tweeted at the end of 3s. I heard that from the gist of it was kind of like I wasn't motivated enough for 3s or whatever.
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't know, but I know I've talked to him individually, and he was like, yeah, like there was just something about 3s this year. It just didn't have the same drive as it did last year. Could be the prize pool, could be the structure of it being so much more remote. Honestly, who knows? But I'm hoping some good things from them.
Well, I'm excited. It should be a fun season for good old Pistons GT. We'll see how they do. You had them as contenders, correct?
Yeah.
Good. Thought I heard that. I didn't write it down, though. Okay, T-Wolves Gaming. We got 2 teams left, and then we'll do tip-off, turn, ticket, and champion, and then MVP. T-Wolves Gaming, Bear, Tutok, Sub, Iggymo, and Polo. I am going to put them on the bubble list. I want to put them in the contenders list, but I have a lot of contenders already. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 contenders. Actually, I can go 9 and 10 because that'll get me to my predicted playoff teams. So I'll put T-Wolves Gaming in my contenders category. I think this team is going to be really, really good. I love how this team is constructed. Range in for Sub-Goated. You might take a bit of an offensive hit there, but I think Range and Iggymo are going to work a little bit better from a chemistry perspective. I think Polo on the popper is going to be a fascinating experiment, but mostly, man, I mean, all of their success is going to come from that Bear to Beast Tutok backcourt, which is just, I mean, round of applause. They played so well together in 3v3. I think it's going to look even better in 5s. I think Tutok is going to end up being one of the best individual players in the league this year. I'm really high on this team, Dirk. I think this team has the potential to be the 3rd best team in the West. I think it'll be more likely that they end up at the 4 seed, but I really like this T-Wolves team. I think a lot of it makes sense. I think they might struggle a little bit defensively because they do have a lot of youth in that front court in Iggymo and Polo, similar to what we said in Gen G. Their luck, though, the T-Wolves' luck, is that the conference is not nearly as deep as the East is. So they're going to be forgiven a lot more for their defensive issues while, they're scoring at one of the highest clips in the league. This team is going to be really good. I'm putting them in the contenders category.
Yeah, I have them as contenders. I think that the T-Wolves rosters year after year just kind of always emulate the same thing, is that they're going to be good offensively. I think the question for me is honestly on the defensive end with that Range, Iggymo, and Polo combo. Now, I think it's going to be interesting to monitor what they're all going to end up bringing to the table. One thing I've always loved about Range is his energy and how he can shift things. And when you're looking at the T-Wolves, like go to last year, right? Bear to Beast, Shifty Kai. You got a good replacement in Tutok. Range compared to TB, Range is just as vocal as TB. I think for Iggymo, I think once he gets his flow and his confidence of actually being in a 5v5 setting, which I think will all come off of Range. And then Polo's always been one of the more the quiet guys, right? Which again, it's kind of similar to Slaughter. Slaughter would get up, maybe say some things here and there. So I feel like you see a lot of similarities from last year to this year, but I do think it has taken a step down in terms of I think that same like defensive flow that we might end up seeing from
Yeah.
this team. Um, Oh, sorry. Last year was Clampism. God, for some fucking reason, I was so locked in on the DJ2 cold thought that I had before
Yeah.
that I was like, oh. So, but yeah, like I feel like it has a little bit of last year, kind of at the same level. I think a lot of this is just going to come to, again, filling the shoes of Shifty Kai. And Tutok showed that in 3v3, fuck, he could do it. But now you go to the Juggernaut, you move into the most skilled mode, you move into the mode that has a lot more pressure on it because the prize pulls up. Everybody's actively involved. There's going to be more eyes on the league than there was in 3v3. So, but I do think that they're going to figure it out, and I think that they will end up being a contender.
All right, contender for T Wolves Gaming. Hey, shout out to Bear Man, by the way. I think he's done a really good job with this young group, and I think getting range in there will help a lot. You know, he didn't have the best of seasons last year, but he's a good mellow voice in that room. And obviously, when the lights get brightest, we know that range loves to explode. So I think he'll be a good player for that team. Last but certainly not least, it is your reigning 5v5 champions, returning all 5 players from last season. Warriors Gaming Squad, CB13, Mama I'm That Man, Kenny Got Work, Cease, and Nay. It is one of the best rosters ever assembled, Dirk. It is one of the most impressive teams we've ever seen come across 5v5. This team is poised for another championship run. They are obviously contenders. They are my pick to win the finals this year. If they don't at least make it to the finals, I think it is a pretty big disappointment for them and for us. I really can't say anything less about how high my expectations are for this team. I think if everything goes correctly, Dirk, this should be one of the best seasons that we've ever had of any team in 5v5 ever. They are in a conference that they are clearly the best team in. They only have one real threat in their conference, and they will not play them in the turn group stage. They likely will not play against the Bucks until the semifinals of each tournament at the earliest. So they'll be able to avoid their number one competition until late into multiple tournaments. And then they get to the playoffs, likely with the bye, number 1 or number 2. They'll again get to avoid the other top seeded team all the way until the Western Conference Finals. This team is poised for a crazy year. I think they're going to live up to it. CB had a great offseason. Mama was playing this offseason. Kenny looked awesome when they switched him into threes. Cease had a great offseason playing with CB. And, of course, Nay coming in, the ultimate X Factor, who I've been hearing great things about in scrims, Dirk. I don't think there's ever been a team that I have been higher on going into a season in a specific game mode. I truly think that this could be the stuff of legends if everything goes according to plan.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to touch upon with this team because like they're easily the best 5v5 team. This is the first time in history where we will actually have a set 5 be returning to defend it, which we have never seen before. So we don't know what the vibes are going to be like, right? Like they have a target on their back. This is a true title defense coming out from Warriors Gaming Squad. So I I think it's so scary for other teams. Like if we just saw that the Lakers started off hot and won the title with a condensed, 3v3 season, how quickly things are moving, we're about to see the same thing in 5v5. And honestly, obviously 5v5, it's less games. You're not getting as many reps, and it's not a whole lot of series. It's just you're just playing the games in your group. I think that the Warriors are poised for a Raptors uprising season 3 type season.
Agreed.
I know that we're going to get into predictions going in later. I think that they're going to win the tip off. I think that they're going to win the turn. I think they would win the ticket if they could play in the fucking ticket, and then more likely win the championship. There's like, people might look at this and be like, oh, you're fucking glazing the Warriors. You're glazing the Warriors. Motherfucker, they're the best team. And it wasn't even close last year. They fucking dominated. And now that Same 5 is coming back, you know that they're going to be hungry. Because, like, we can't even look and be like, for some teams, we have to look at their threes performances and be like, oh, damn, man. Like, what are we going to expect from them in 5s? The Warriors could play fucking god-awful in 3s. I'm like, doesn't matter. They showed us they just won a championship in 5v5. So, I mean, Warriors easily, power rankings, number 1 team in the league. And honestly, second place. It's up for grabs. Go ahead. I don't even know if you can lock somebody in, but it's the Warriors world.
Yeah, and we're just living in it. We'll see how they play. We get to see them game of the week this week against Lakers Gaming. So that'll be a very fun one to close out the week. All right, let's get into the tip-off, the turn, the ticket, and the finals. Dirk, who do you think is going to win the tip-off?
Warriors.
You got the Warriors winning the tip-off. Okay, I am going to go with Bucks Gaming winning the tip-off. Who you got winning the turn?
Warriors.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think that they are going to have a season 3 Raptors run.
And I
if
think
they don't, I just suck.
I got Warriors in the turn. Who do you think is going to win the ticket this year?
Ooh, let me look at these teams real quick.
I got a good one for you.
Ticket team to win the ticket. I'm going to go with Cavs Legion.
Cavs Legion. Oh, you're right up my alley, dude. I'm going with Gen G. I think that's right up the same alley. And your El Campeon. Who do you have as the champion?
Warriors.
Going Warriors. Go with the back-to-back. Me too. Who is your MVP for the 5v5 season? Can't say the Warriors again. I'm sorry.
MVP. I think Kai will get his 5v5 MVP this year.
I'm just gonna say, buddy, if the Warriors win both tournaments and the champion, they will have the MVP on their team.
That's true.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know who it would be though in the Warriors.
That's why I didn't have them winning the tip-off, because at least I have room to give somebody else the MVP.
I guess if there was an MVP, I'll go CB13. CB13 is due for an MVP at some point.
All right, CB13 with MVP. I like it. I, on the other side, I'm going to take a little swing here. I'm going to go Johnny Red.
Okay.
I think Johnny's going to have a monster year for the Bucks. Any other fun awards you want to give out, or you want to close it there?
Let's close it there.
All right, we'll close it there. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Is this one of the longest pods we've had?
Hour 50. Well, minus the 5 minutes that I have to cut out for my quick delays, but we'll get that done. All right, y'all. 5v5 starts up tomorrow. It'll be Dirk and I on the broadcast alone for the first 2 days. Then we'll be joined by JT and Lee on Friday. So that'll be a whole lot of fun. But yeah, any other notes about fives, Dirk?
I'm excited to see it get underway.
Cool.
Have some fun. Look at the different style. Different broadcast style.
It's popper time, Dirk.
Slow and methodical with Harris doing the play-by-play potentially.
I'm getting in my bag. I'll try not to steal too many Mike Breen lines.
because I like to share the wealth with the team.
You're a wonderful man. All right.
No, I just like doing analyst and color commentary.
You're a great color guy. You're the best 2K color guy of all time. I love JT. I'm not trying to hurt him, but it's kind of 5 years of experience to 2. So. Gotta give respect where respect is deserved. All right, that's going to do it for us. New episode of Virtual Courtside will be coming on Sunday, and we're going to have a special guest. I don't know who yet, but they will be on. I'm going to force us to do guests for fives because we're going to have more listeners. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Adios.